All right, so here it is. I'm going to be reacting to Greg Gutfeld, the great Greg Gutfeld. He says that Trump crushed joint address and Democrats chose to walk the plank.
To prove their point. His point that Dems hate good things, if politically it makes them look worse. It's got to be
You go to
weird.
bed every night hoping for bad things to happen to good people. Trump then read off a list of incredible wastes of money that the Dems have been responsible for. It sounded like a mental patient had stolen my Amex card. Think about it. Right now, Americans across the country are thinking about how much they owe in taxes, and Trump reads this list off. I bet you could hear Jerry Nadler's butthole clenching into a sun-dried tomato.
Oh, wow.
Which, given his issues, probably an improvement. Overall, Trump crushed it, but so did America, because when Trump does great, that means the country does great. That's what
Yeah,
happens
yeah,
when you have a patriot in
I
charge. The
agree, Greg.
personal and the national align, which also means if Trump does poorly, so does the country. But that
Yeah,
puts smiles on the face of Democrats. So
exactly. They
what's it
want
like to
him.
be them, to be the bad guy, to fight a smile when you see a kid with cancer hug a Secret Service agent, to
Yeah.
deliberately ignore the family of a
Oh,
murdered
man.
American
Vile.
female? We don't have to imagine what that's like. We saw it last night. The pirates have boarded, and the Americans think it's glorious, but the Dems chose to walk the plank.
Yeah.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. For Lynch, she's giving up heroin.
Oh,
Co-host of
Dana.
America's Newsroom in the Five, Dana
Dana
Perino.
Perino.
We need another chair for his fluffy hair. Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, Charlie Hertz.
It hurts. Good old Charlie.
She's my favorite tutor since Henry
Ooh,
VIII. Host of the Tudor Dixon
Tudor.
podcast, Tudor Dixon.
Tudor Dixon.
And she gets turned on by reading eye
Kennedy.
charts. Host of Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. Dana, it feels like,
Oh,
I
girls.
feel
Three
like
girls and a guy.
the Democrat Party is in a situation where it's kind of dead. Like they either have to be against everything good or agree that these things are good, and they won't do that.
It's like they need to declare bankruptcy
Yes.
and start over.
That is such a good point.
I know, I just thought of it.
It's a great, sometimes just thinking on your feet is so much better.
It's so refreshing. I did think at some point the Democrats would hold up a sign saying "Uncle" because he was crushing them over.
But if you do
Yeah.
that, Ilhan Omar will want to him.
Oh.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, it made
What was
perfect
that?
sense.
It's all right, zoned out.
About to say that.
I was about to say that. The other thing is that you had to think of the Democrats who were at home watching.
Oh, because she married her brother. She likes to keep it in the family. That is, man.
Going, this is what my party has become? And so I honestly think maybe declaring bankruptcy and just like clearing the decks, starting over might be their best bet. One
Yeah,
other point that
I
I just thought
agree.
of. The Democrats, if they ever hope to win again, need to win
Yeah.
over who Trump won over, which is the independents and the great middle, the party of common sense. And they are now so far marginalized that they're almost completely irrelevant. You're seeing numbers of like 76%, 80%, 90% approval and
True.
agreement on issues. They have nowhere to go.
This is such an interesting point, Charlie, and thank you for that, Dana. The 80-20.
I agree with Dana. Uh, it's just the Democrats doesn't want to. They don't want to where to stand. It's like they're confused. And some of the Democrats in the crowd are there. I mean, some of them. I think I read that some of them actually cried when the little boy, the 13-year-old boy, hugged the guy, um, the Secret Service guy, and that was a Democrat that said that. But the other Democrats, the hardline, the far left Democrats, they they rather bash that little boy or Trump in saying that how dare him do that? How dare him politicize it because he took the funding out of the Peter Easton research or something like that. Rachel Maddow was doing that. But anyway, I digressed. I'm gonna let him talk.
Split. It's happening with all of these issues and now with approval, and yet the Dems still say, we'll just stick with the 20. I mean, it's incredible. It's
Yeah,
like they're
basically.
purposely choosing the losing hand.
And not only is it an 80-20 split, there isn't a single issue where it's not, where it's the opposite in their favor.
Yeah.
And, Democrats have always been so good at telling the story. And
Yeah.
they have everything,
Sure.
all the advantages. They have the media, they have culture, they have academia, everybody on their side helping them tell the story. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump comes along, and a lot of people, a lot of Republicans too, complain that, well, he opines about everything. He doesn't have to express his opinion about absolutely everything. Well, this is how you wind up like flooding the zone and dominating every single story out there. He owns every narrative, every story, to the point where you put up a 13-year-old kid who wants to grow up to be a police officer, which in this weird time is somehow really unusual, but this is what's going on here. And Democrats are all upset, and they can't even applaud a cancer patient, 13-year-old cancer patient who wants to be a police officer.
Trump should have played a prank on the Dems and brought out a kid who wants to grow up to be a trans activist.
Oh.
That would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious. You know what? I thought it was funny in my head.
That made no sense.
Tudor, good to see you as always. It's been a long time. What did you make of last night? I noticed that I think the Dems have a problem with speeches that don't have symbolism or virtue signaling. Instead, he just read facts. It drove him crazy.
It drove them crazy because it was also joyful. They don't understand joy. So I wore pink tonight in honor of them because they were giving Mean Girl vibes to me. And just so they know, on
leather.
Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Yeah.
All right, but she wears pink, but I think that's a leather undergarment. Is that leather? Yeah, look, it's shiny. So might be leather or vinyl. One of those
That's
two.
very good.
That's the rule. But also, I kind of felt like at a certain point, Rashida Tlaib was going to take that little white board and write on there, Donald Trump is a fugly slut, and hold it up, because I'm like, this has to be what they're doing tonight. But they came off as Mean Girls, and I thought that was good because that's much more their brand than the white of last year.
Yeah, even the guys.
If Rashida Tlaib would have wrote that in there, that would have described her. Oh,
come off as Mean Girls.
Well, they are.
Yeah, they are. Kennedy, what's interesting...
Jerry Nadler's certainly been eating those Caltine bars, am I
right? Looks like he ate 5 Mean Girls.
Can I tell you a quick Jerry Nadler story? And I'm sorry to give you an aside. My precious daughter, when she was an 8th grader, they got to go to Washington, D.C. And a Republican congressman was kind enough to walk them around the Capitol and give them a private tour. And he said, I'm not going to take them to their congressman's office because it smells so bad and it would scar them for life.
That is the third stinky story about Jerry Nadler that I've heard in
I heard about that.
Like a week.
Well, I think it's properly vetted now, Greg. So
yeah,
you can give that to Bob Woodward.
George Santos says he was the smelliest guy. The smelliest guy.
But a great kisser, George said, remember? Remember he said that.
And then James Comer said the same thing, that he stinks. There's it's true. When 3 people say it's true, according to research. Here's the deal. I feel like somebody's feeding the Dems bad info. Is there a mole in the Democrat Party? You know what? Don't smile when a kid with cancer gets his wish. Whatever you do,
that'll really stick it to him. You guys will look amazing. So whenever you feel like you're gonna cry because you're overcome with emotion, just sit down and remain expressionless, like your face is as Botoxed as Nancy Pelosi's.
Yes.
Don't show any emotion at all. That'll be so great. That'll win people over. This is why Democrats lost, because they're snobs.
Yes.
This is why they lost on the issue of populism and the working class. And here you have, just incredible stories. A steel worker, who was the chief volunteer firefighter with 7 children who fostered 40 kids. Right. And it's like, I'm in a puddle. I'm in tears. I'm so moved by this incredible American story. And Dems are sitting there like, no, I'm British. And
you're right. There's a snob thing. There's a snob thing.
No. It's because their life is bitter. They're so ungrateful with many things. They just that's how they live. They're Karens, 24/7. Bitter Karens.
None of those 40 kids he fostered were trans. They don't count, Kennedy.
No, they don't.
They have to be. One of the best things that he said last night, and I love it, when he said that kids identifying as trans is a big lie. Do you know how long I've waited for somebody to say that? That
Yeah.
we know it's a big
Yeah.
lie, and finally you can say that.
But they might think so too, because today nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
there was a big line at a joint session of Congress for a president of the United States to say that. Think if that had happened, well,
Yeah.
2 years ago, Biden wouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
Biden was asleep.
Yeah, he would have said, "What's with kids and trains?" Kids, I don't care if kids want to be on a train, let them be on trains. I love a good train. Transsexual. I'm a transsexual. I'm a
Okay, all
transsexual.
right, move on. Oh man. Until next time.